Hey guys, me KinzTube 3, and I thought today I would sit down and just have a little chat with you because I get asked this question on occasion, and I'm gonna be real, I don't really know how to answer it very well, so I took some time to sit down and write out a list of some things that might actually be helpful. The question I get asked sometimes is, how do I start making KinzTube videos, or how do I get into KinzTube? I am very much so of the opinion that if you want to do something like this, then the best thing to do is just do it. You don't need to have fancy equipment or amazing ideas. If you want to start making Webkinz videos, pick up a Webkinz and just start filming. That's really mostly it. Everyone's early videos are going to suck. And that's because every video is a learning experience. You'll learn much more as you go, and the further you go, the better you will become. The hardest part of anything is just getting started. But I also kind of realize that's not the type of advice people are really looking for. So I wanted to sit down with my little bit of bullet point notes just to give some general advice and maybe help you feel more prepared to start making Webkinz videos of your own. So I think a good part to get started here is on equipment. Now, first things first, KinzTube is a hobby. I am not going to recommend you go out and buy a $1,000 DSLR and a couple of lenses and learn to do all this manual focusing and get high quality SD cards and lots of expensive batteries. I am not going to tell you to do that. KinzTube is a hobby. It would be ludicrous to spend that much money on something like this. If you really have the money and that's how you choose to spend it, feel free. But nowadays, smartphone cameras are pretty gosh darn decent. This is a luxury I didn't have when I started. When I started, you know, if I wanted to record with a smartphone, we didn't have smartphones actually. When I started, I don't think. So I had to spend money on a camera, and I picked cheap ones. But you don't need to go out and spend $700 on a camera like I did, especially starting off. I'm really discouraging doing that for your first stuff. Don't spend a ton of money on equipment because you might get into it, you might try it and find out you don't like it, and then you just spend a ton of money on stuff. But basically all smartphones will be able to record in a nice 1080-60, and that will be great for videos. Most of them have good quality mics. Are you a happy boy? You can use them for audio recordings. That's another thing. You don't really need a dedicated microphone. For the longest time, I would literally just set my camera down on my desk and talk, and then when it came to editing, I'd delete the video file and just use that as audio, and it worked just fine. It's also just a little bit of a nitpicky me situation. I know I might kind of stand a little bit alone on this, but in my opinion, 1080p is the minimum for YouTube. If your phone doesn't record in 1080p, that's okay. I completely understand. That's a very valid reason. But if your phone does record in 1080p, don't think, I'll cheap out and just record this in 720. It's not going to matter. It does matter because YouTube's compression is garbage. So, just wanted to point that out. Please record in 1080p at the minimum, if possible. But something else with equipment, and I can't understate this enough, there is nothing quite like a good tripod. Tripods last a really long time as long as you don't lose that top piece. I've never lost one of those top pieces, but I've heard horror stories from people who have, because you cannot replace those. You want a tripod that has a little bit of weight to it and is a little bit stiff. Something that's really loose will just kind of shake no matter what. I had that issue with some old tripods. I thought that's how they were until I got a good one. You don't need to get one right away, of course. I'm not using a tripod right now, but for things like my cooking videos and short films, and times when I even just need to use two hands, it is incredibly helpful just to have a tripod on hand. And since we're dealing with Webkinz, a small tripod, a good small tripod, is something that is incredibly useful. I don't have one, and I kind of wish I did, because Webkinz are way down here. Most tripods will only go down to about 11 or 12 inches, which will give more of this angle. You see that in my videos, because like I said, I don't have a small tripod, but a small tripod can get more on their eye level to get more dynamic scenes for things you might want. Now, I don't want to talk too much about computers here, because chances are you're just working with what you got. I know back in the day, people used to ask me about editors on their smartphones or iPads and stuff, and unfortunately, I'm not very versed in that stuff. I can't give any advice on stuff like that, but I have an editing tower now, but I have edited on like a dual core laptop before. It was painful. The thing shut down from overheating a couple of times. I made it work, and if that's all you have, then that's all you have. What I will say though is if you have a lower powered laptop, you will probably want to look at more lightweight video editors if possible. The thing is, editors themselves are very power hungry, but a lot of them also don't really know how to utilize good hardware. So there's kind of diminishing returns on having a state-of-the-art PC. But for actual video editors, I personally use Adobe Premiere Elements. I have the 2019 version. Do I recommend it? No! For that, I use Corel, which was another yearly release software, and here's the thing about yearly releases. I'm just gonna kind of go off a tangent here for a moment. What you end up with is something that either gets 1 or 2 patches, and then even though it's only like a year old, completely gets all support dropped, and if you have any problems, I say just buy the next version, which is gonna be a minimum $100. And this is just what you're gonna have to deal with. Heck, even in my editor, I had an issue recently because the authentication servers for it were based on Flash, even though when they made that, they already announced Flash was going to expire. And their workaround didn't work, and I had to go through so many hoops to be able to actually use my video editor that I legally bought and paid for.
This is actually an amazing argument in favor of piracy.
But of course, there are also plenty of good free video editors out there. I know lots of KinzTubers use Filmora. My brother personally uses Kdenlive. There's also OpenShot and Shotcut. All of these editors have their positives and their drawbacks. DaVinci Resolve also has a free version, which I like DaVinci Resolve. The problem is I can't see anything because it's just so freaking dark and there's no light theme. But at the end of the day, the editor you will pick will depend on what's the most important for you. Every single video editor will be able to just do plain cut and copy paste video editing. But you might pick between different ones because you either like the UI better, or this one has certain effects you like more, or one has motion tracking. A couple of things I like to look for in editors is, 1, motion tracking. I use that quite a bit, but I've kind of broken off of using it. Corel's motion tracking was actually really, really good. Adobe's sucks, sadly. I can't get it to work like 99% of the time. Anytime there's something motion tracking, I go back and do it in Corel, which is pain because half the time the editor crashes on me. But also, I do not want to use any editor that does not allow for VBR 2-pass. But what that means is there's 3 different settings. There's CBR, which is constant bitrate, VBR 1-pass, and then VBR 2-pass. VBR stands for variable bitrate. This means in scenes where it's pretty static like this, it will give less bitrate because the video does not need a whole lot of bitrate, but where there's more movement like this, it will give higher bitrate, thus making it look smoother. If you're wondering, low bitrate will cause that blocky look. VBR 2-pass essentially renders the video twice. It will go through once to analyze the footage and see what needs more bitrate and what needs less, and better analyze it, and then go through and render it. Meanwhile, 1-pass, it just kind of does that all at once, and it does a better job of it in 2-pass. You basically end up with a better quality video at the same file size, so I can't not recommend VBR 2-pass. CBR just keeps it at the same bitrate throughout the whole video, which will just make it a larger file than it really needs to be. Speaking of file size though, something else I like, but unfortunately is not really an industry standard, is the Kodak H.265, also known as HEVC. H.264 is the current standard, and it will be basically supported across all video editors, but the H.265 Kodak essentially has the ability to produce videos of the exact same quality at half the file size. Now, lots of people don't keep their videos after they upload them. I am someone that personally does, so that's why this is important to me. I'm kind of from the olden days where it's like, oh, well, if someone hacks my channel and deletes all my videos, and it's all gone forever. Nowadays, it's more likely that someone would just put a bunch of copyright strikes on my channel and get it removed and I couldn't get it back. But if that ever happens, I always have a list of my videos for one. I keep a list of all the titles, descriptions, tags, the date they were uploaded. I keep all that stuff written down, as well as the original video file itself. So that way, if I ever needed to, I could re-upload it. So that's why that's important to me, but it's probably not very important to you. Another thing that can also not be understated is the use of titles. I use titles a lot, if you know, because I make little mistakes and I'll put a title for a correction or just a snarky little remark at my past self. So how titles are used can be very important. And don't forget that you can download fonts. I just try and keep track and only install fonts on my computer that are free for all use, because some of them they want credit, and that's completely understandable. But I have so many fonts installed on my my computer, I'm not going to be able to keep track of which ones require credit and which ones don't. As for how you're going to edit the actual video yourself, well, that's something you'll kind of have to figure out on your own. Everyone kind of develops their own editing style. Some people like to do a lot of jump cuts. Other people like a more raw, just continuous video, pauses left in. If you can tell, I'm more of a jump cut person because I like to make sure I'm not wasting anyone's time with needless rambling or pauses. So that's why my videos often kind of seem like I'm just jumping around a lot like that because my mouth works faster than my brain. Just try to be respectful of your viewers' time. Like if you're editing a package video and you take like 5 minutes to open it, that's just blank space you can cut out and it will improve the flow of the video. Some advice I can give though, as far as editing, is try to keep your audio consistent. This is a really, really big pet peeve of mine. Most camera microphones, and yes, smartphone microphones, will have a compressor built in that will equalize volume mostly throughout the video. But sometimes you'll come into parts where someone will say something and you are bringing attention to it in the video, but they're mumbling in the background kind of like this and you can't really hear them very well. Don't do that. Don't leave it in like that. Please turn that audio up. Or if someone screams and it hurts your ears, turn that down. I always try and keep videos pretty level so that way it's comfortable to watch with headphones. Some people turn things way up or way down because of memes. I don't like that because it just hurts my ears. But that's some advice I can genuinely give you. Now, if you're wondering, I haven't really mentioned any subscription-based editors like Adobe Premiere Pro, even though lots of the industry uses it. The reason I don't really recommend a subscription-based editor is because this is a hobby for one, it's not a job, and number two, even if you think you're gonna earn some money off of it, I can almost guarantee YouTube is not going to be paying for that subscription. It's been really hard for big content creators to be making money off of ads on YouTube after Adpocalypse. Like, what are we on, like 6 now? To give you guys a bit of an example, my Webkinz beta video, I'm going to say I probably spent about 300 hours on it, and that's not an overestimate here. I legitimately spent several months going through the Facebook group to get information, to be sure that everything I was saying was factually accurate, then create a timeline and had to write that out and do several rewrites, as well as go through all of the footage I recorded. Then I had to record my audio, which that alone took an entire month, and I had to edit that, and I think I took about 6 weeks editing it. And these were not like, oh, I'm editing it here and there. This was like, I am spending hours every day working on this. That video was in production for a good 7 months. And I don't know if YouTube likes me showing analytics like this, but do you know how much money I earned off of that video? $21.66. It literally would have been more economical for me to take those 3,000 hours that I put in that video and worked a retail job. Now granted, that was a really, really big video, but on average, most videos I upload I earn about $1, maybe $2 from. Generally, I make about $25 a month from my videos, and that's including people watching my entire backlog. On average, I earn between about $320 to $350 every year from ads on YouTube, and that is not enough to cover subscriptions for video editors or even a month's worth of rent. So YouTube is not going to be paying any bills anytime soon. This is also a small community. You might be thinking, well, I'll just, game the algorithm. I'll do uploads every other day. I'll have a consistent schedule. And it's like, that'd be cool, but we're also a small community. You're not going to bring in the viewership that you would in a larger community. So if you are doing KinzTube, this is why it's for fun. No one is doing this for the money. I can guarantee it. And if you do have the income and you want to use a subscription-based editor, then by all means, go ahead. It's your money, spend it how you please. It's not something I personally would do. But now that we've talked about what you're going to be filming these videos on and what you're going to be editing them with, let's go into what you're actually going to be doing in the videos. Chances are you probably have a couple of ideas, and if you don't, I can't exactly give them to you. Because I don't really have many myself. I ran out of ideas years ago. Getting ideas is something that's pretty hard. Something I like to do in the past, especially, was I like to take tropes and kind of flip them on their head. This trope always starts this way. People always write it so they end this way. What if it instead ended like this and kind of subverted expectations? That was something I like to play around with a lot, but truth be told, what a lot of my content came from back in the day was fan fiction. I don't think I made this known to the internet until now. But yes, when I was younger, I wrote a lot of fan fiction. In some parts, I went and I turned into webkin sketches. Tree Hugger was entirely from a fanfic I wrote, which you will never find because it was never posted anywhere online. But you'll get inspiration from all sorts of places. You'll get random ideas everywhere, anywhere. Just if you want to talk about something, talk about it. If you find something funny that you want to turn into a little story or skit, then do so. But something that is very important to do is keeping them organized. I like organization a lot, if you can't tell. So one thing I used to do is I used to have a literal wall of ideas. Every time I got an idea for a video, I would write on a post-it note and stick it on the wall. And the post-it notes were color-coded for like what type of video they were. The downside of that is I was just putting a working title in and I didn't actually know what the context of that was at all. And if I forgot the context, then there goes the idea. But even if you don't make a video about that idea, it's interesting to write it down because maybe you're not making one now, but later on, you might start thinking about that again, and it gives you something to work off of. Some people have a folder on their computer, and in that folder, they have a document for every single new idea with a little bit of a description of what they were kind of thinking. It doesn't have to be a full script or anything really professional. You can just kind of write whatever, because you're the only one that's going to be seeing this. I personally like to keep my ideas in a singular document. I have a little header that's the title, at least a working title, because titles are hard. And then if I don't really feel like fleshing out the idea right now, a little description of it. And maybe even stick in an image or something of what inspired you, what made you want to write about it. How you write it doesn't really matter. The important thing is you're getting it out there. So even if you don't feel like doing it now, maybe later on when you feel more up to it, you can give it a shot. You might also never do it, and that's completely fine. You might find this just isn't good enough. I don't think I can make this into something good, and that's perfectly fine. Some software for writing I use is LibreOffice and Google Docs. Google Docs I can recommend a little bit more because it's all on the cloud, and that makes it incredibly easy when you're on the go or have multiple devices. If you get an idea for something funny in the grocery store checkout line, you can just write it down right there, and then when you get home to your computer, continue working where you left off. Or if you're going out of town away from your desktop computer, you don't have to worry about having all of the current files for all your scripts and notes and stuff all on that drive. You can just be happy, opening up Google from anywhere, and there it all is. And not everybody likes scripts, but they can be immensely helpful. They can be really, really good for keeping you on track and helping with phrasing. It's also great for remembering little jokes and ideas you had when you're like me and have a pretty trash memory. You also don't have to script an entire video. Just if you think you're going to have trouble with one part, script that only and leave the rest to improv. Also, when it comes to talking videos, you don't have to do this, but it's really nice just to have a general list of bullet points and notes to go through that help keep you on track. So even if you're someone that doesn't want to do completely scripted videos, there is a time and a place for scripts, and even just note-taking in general that's very, very helpful. And that being said, I don't hate doing fully scripted videos. As a matter of fact, it's kind of nice to go through and know, okay, this is ready, or no, this needs more work, instead of just being like, I hope I'm in a funny mood today, because I have this idea, and I hope I remember this joke. Because that's what I used to do. But now I think we're at the point where you can just start making videos. Make the videos and have fun. If you don't know what kind of videos to make, then make what you like. I like video games and cooking and comedy, so that's what I make. You won't enjoy producing content you don't like. So if you're doing something and you feel it's not really your groove, it's completely fine to push it aside or change it entirely. And here's another thing. People can often tell when you do not like what you're doing. It will come out in the way you speak, the way you edit, the way you sound, even in the typing of your description. And that kind of rubs off on people. So you really can't expect other people to like your content if you don't like making it yourself. Leads me into another little bit of advice I have, and that is, don't push filming if you really don't feel like it. I know myself and plenty of other people on YouTube have pushed to record something when they weren't in a good mood, or they really didn't want to because they wanted to keep a schedule going or just finish this and power through this project. But like I said, people can tell when you are not having fun, and it will sour the experience. And even if you are really, really good at masking it and pretending you have energy and that you're perfectly fine, at the end of the day, after posting it, you will hate that video forever. This is coming from experience. If you really can't do something that day, then don't. Don't push yourself. This is a hobby. KinzTube is for fun. There's an old saying that used to go around a lot on KinzTube, and that was, KinzTube is for fun, not fame. And that is really, really true. So don't completely push yourself and burn yourself out to try and keep a schedule for something that's just a fun little hobby. But something that is really fun is interacting and collaborating with the community. Now, YouTube makes it incredibly hard to interact with other KinzTubers because they removed messaging and the inbox, and they just made it so if you want to contact someone, you basically have to go through a business email, which kind of freaking sucks for smaller communities, but try messaging other KinzTubers on their other socials and interact with some of the communities on Discord. Do collaborations with people. It's a great way for everyone to kind of draw attention to others' channels. And on top of that, it's so much fun to do collaborations. You both get good videos, you have a few laughs, and you might have even made a new friend along the way. So if you're someone that's felt a little intimidated by joining the Webkinz community, I hope this makes you feel prepared to just sit down and start. I want to hop back in here for just a minute because there was a point I didn't really think I made very well during the first recording. Please don't feel like you can't put your videos out there because they are not good enough. Everyone's first videos suck, but you need to make bad videos in order to learn how to make good videos. You can know how a piece of software works inside and out, but that doesn't mean you're good at it. And the only way you're going to get good and even better at it is by actually using it. There is no tutorial that can sidestep experience. I very much so mirror the opinions of people like Chuggaaconroy who say you don't have to wait until you are really educated in video editors and have super good equipment to make videos. Just make videos and learn by doing. People hate when the best advice you can give is just practice, but the truth is, that's what it boils down to. That being said, though, there is a very important tip I can give you. Always make sure you are actually recording. It only needs to happen once to ensure it never happens again. So, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found it useful. And I will see you in the next one later. On my back. Okay, sat too long. That's another thing about becoming a YouTuber. Your back will hurt, inevitably.